Beneath the surface is a special place. Beneath the surface is where extraordinary happens. Designations, visiting cards, fancy cars. Now, whatever may lie on the surface, delve a little deeper, and that's where you will find the hunter-gatherer, the predator. That's where you will find lurking the real, way beneath the surface.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of A Done Deal, a podcast where we get unique, relatable perspectives on entrepreneurship and leadership as seen from the eyes of seasoned entrepreneurs and investors. It's my great pleasure to introduce my guest today, Rikard Strid, who's based out of Stockholm. Rikard is an accomplished Swedish entrepreneur and is currently the chairman and chief visionary officer at KTC. But together with far-sighted Swedish property owners, he makes buildings more energy efficient through intelligent property automation. He's also the founder CEO of Clayster, which builds products for next generation internet and helps telecom operators enter the third dimensional business model. We'll ask a little more about it in this podcast. Rikard is also one of the top global experts on IoT, or the Internet of Things, and is the IoT ambassador at Network Society Research. He's also a member at one of the working groups at IEEE, setting and managing standards for methods to transport messages over a network. He's also on the committee of the Swedish Standards Institute that specifies IoT standards, amongst many other ways of working on IoT. Rikard, welcome to A Done Deal.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Rikard, what's the biggest surprise you've had in the last few months, given what's going on?
Yeah, first coming down to it. Yeah, I guess like everyone is a bit surprised about what's going on. But coming down to how it affects you, I would say like I always been someone where I think that I have a pretty high stress level and I'm very effective, and I guess I am at least, and I try to be in the best way I can. And what I realized over the last couple of months is that there is a roof that you should be very careful about not jumping against. And with everything that is going on in the world right now, and also in my own, I would say, private and professional situation, it has affected me. So I recently made a decision to make a change in my professional life.
Okay.
And come back as in KTC, to step down as the CEO and hand that over to a great guy, and then come in as a chief visionary officer, which I guess is also something that relates much better to me. So the greatest surprise that I've seen is that we should be, like, as an entrepreneur that are very like driven to do things and change the world, I guess. We should also be careful about not burning ourselves out, which I luckily didn't do, but that's the surprise, that there is a ceiling and the roof that we should be aware of.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I love this question, about the turbulent times that we're going through. Many of us have never experienced such a type of existential crisis where pretty much every aspect of the human psyche has been stretched, tested, stress tested. COVID, in fact, has thrown a spanner in the works for people who are all set to get into the wild world of entrepreneurship, and that world is pretty stressful in its own way, and now COVID has made it many times harder. What is your advice to entrepreneurs and founders in these turbulent times? What should they do?
Yeah, but first I think like being an entrepreneur is about to make great impact into the world and make a change for the better for the planet. And I would say So then it comes down to, like, as always, I would say for me, it's being an entrepreneur is to be also be an empathic entrepreneur. And sometimes we don't know the end result of our visions when we start doing the work. So it's the advice that I would say is always like, be empathic, be transparent, and always work as a team with the people that you're around. It's like that's why I'm a strong advocate for transparent and mesh organizations where self-leadership, where everyone works as a team. So I would say in times like this, it's more important than ever to work as a team and be transparent with your colleagues and come up with the best empathic ways of driving the organization and the company towards the vision. And so I would say it's transparency, I would say, is the most important thing, and also gather information from the organization and from the people that you work together with, so everyone is part of making the decisions when it comes to situations like this, and also open up the eyes, because within a crisis like this, there is also opportunities. And opportunities that we didn't see before, that could leverage your business into another paradigm, and as well as looking into what is more important than ever, and also what we are working on with KDC is to create a more sustainable organization. It's not only about saving energy in a building for us, it's also about having a sustainable vision. And how you work not only with the climate impact, it's like how can we take greater care of ourselves, our friends, and our families, and the planet.
Right. And I suppose
the great
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I just wanted to say that it's the most important thing is in times like this is to open up the eyes and start like taking responsibilities for things that is that doesn't only show on your P&L, which might show up there later on, which a lot of studies says.
Okay. So sustainability, that's the key. Sustainability in terms of your relationship with your employees, your founders, your
families, clients. And I think like the people that you work with is your tribe. They're people that you integrate with. They are, and at least what I believe in is that it's having a transparent and open relationship there. And this is the time to restructure, to go away from the traditional hierarchic top-down organizations into an organization where everyone contributes with what they are best at, and having a transparent relationship in that, and getting away from the carrot and the stick, coming back into self-leadership, coming back into or in ways that where everyone will feel much better working. I would say this is for me like how it is to what we should take with us from COVID.
Yes, especially I suppose with the work-life balance, because at the end of the day you work to make money, to eventually spend time with your loved ones and yourself with your hobbies and interests and other things. And COVID, I suppose, has also taught the importance of having that healthy work-life balance, which I suppose people were aware of, or where they wanted to have it, but somehow couldn't.
Yeah, and I think that's something that for me, being an entrepreneur, like it's hard to divide between life and work. It's a mess. And I would say now when I do more meetings online, I get more effective, but it's also that I have time to do other things. When it comes to spending time with family, spending time with friends, getting time to maybe read things, and also I get the I get the opportunity to balance my life better. And I think that's something for which is something that I hope will come into everyone's life now. I think we will stay working like this, but and instead of course, the meeting between each other is extremely important. The human meetings that I hope that we get back to sooner than ever. But it's also, I think, time when we meet will be more about celebration. It's about like enjoy that time in a different way. It's not like when we really need, when we meet, we do that to celebrate together.
Okay. And yes, you touched on a very interesting point about entrepreneurs and the missing work-life balance, as in there's a mix, right? You've been an entrepreneur for a while now, haven't you, Rickard? And you've had your fair share.
I don't think that I know much difference. Sorry for interrupting you. Maybe it's I grew up as an entrepreneur. Well, I was born into an entrepreneur family. My dad is an entrepreneur. So it's
in your genes.
And I didn't realize that there exists a university until it was too late. That was like that there is something called university, which is like quite funny now when I look back at it. Of course, extremely stressful when you are like in your like 24, 25 and realize, shit, I missed that train, and instead started working very early. And but it's so I guess I've been an entrepreneur my entire life, and it's
but here's a hypothetical situation. If you could go back 10, 15, 20 years and do things slightly differently, what would those be, and how do you think you'd still have made that difference to your life and what you're doing right now?
If you would have asked me maybe like 8 years ago, I might have said that I would have done things differently.
Right.
And if we take this like pretty big thing as like studying differently, going to more into corporate life,
Right.
I would probably have said I would like to do that 10 years ago. And that would, of course, probably made a huge difference. I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't fit into that world, and then I would come into this direction anyway, because sometimes we do not even know why we end up where we are.
Yes.
And I would say where I'm right now, I wouldn't do things differently. But of course, that's because I'm not in the pain where I were like 12, 15 years ago.
Yes.
A pain where there's so many uncertainties about where my life would evolve.
Yes.
But now I love where I am. So it's
right.
But I will also say in that case, I always said that like it's a matter of the perspective of when you look at where on the road where you're going. Like, of course, on a if you look at like if we are going to drive around the globe, it's going to be, of course, on certain parts it's going to be super bumpy, and it's going to be very, very difficult to go forward. But when I look on the entire journey, like 5 years later, I would probably just remember the good stuff and the things that that took me there. So I would say I don't think I would really change anything in that direction now when I'm getting maybe a bit older and wiser. I don't know.
Older and wiser.
I hope.
That sort of reminds me of mentors, older and wiser. Did you have any mentors growing up who were formative to your thinking, to the way your life shaped up?
Yeah, well, always enjoy. I think having mentors is about hanging out with people that are elders in their space and have they have seen this as when I'm getting into that since we met doing a panchakarma in India, the toughest detox someone can probably do.
Yes.
Certain times when I was there, I thought that I would die because it was so difficult.
I remember.
Maybe even you. And it's so I would say, like, for me, it's like having someone that know that this journey, even though it's tough right now, it's going to be easier down the road, or you will not remember so tough. But coming back to if I had some mentors, of course my parents, my mom and my dad, plays a very important role in my life. And I'm the only child, so it's, of course, they are my siblings and my parents kind of relationship and friends. And then later on in life, I had that's how I got into telecom. His name is Seth Nyström, fantastic man, who started to, he'd been working in telecom, is like a guru in that space. And yeah, that was one of those like sparring partners that I had when I was like 24, and we are still like very good friends, and comes with very important and good advices. Another mentor that I had was Bengt Åkerlind, used to work at Microsoft, also a fantastic man with like great insights and like insights, especially I would say from the corporate world. You know, he spent like a long time working in Seattle for Microsoft. And yeah, and later in life, I have I would say a friend. His name is Steven, lives in New York, where I also spent 4 years of my life. But he's an artist, comes from a different mindset. We share many ideas and philosophies about life. So I would say it's for everyone, like, to find a mentor, someone that maybe you can give something back and where you can receive something. It has helped me a lot to keep track of where I'm going. And then I would say, of course, everyone in my life is a mentor and a guide. I really appreciate our relationship. Like, you come with insights and ideas, and we laugh, and it's like it also gives back to my life. So I would say everyone that is in the world that you experience is your guru, kind of. At least if you look at it like that, even if even the most difficult people that you have in your life can be the greatest teachers.
Exactly. That's I mean, wiser words have never been said, as they say.
Yeah.
And then, you know, through your parents, you know, who were your mentors in the formative years of your life, you said you also, you know, looked at entrepreneurship. Like most of us have never seen them, as in you're born into an entrepreneurial family. It was first nature, not even second nature to you. So could you know, share with us a little more about, you know, what you're doing there with the family business, with KTC, and how it's assisting achieving the local and the global climate goals that we've set for the next 20 odd years?
Yeah, so yeah, just a short history. KTC was founded by my dad. We are soon to enter 40 years of existence, and it started off 40 years ago about connecting buildings, which is quite funny though. Like, everyone's talking about the Internet of Things today, and
so futuristic.
The first thing that my dad brought, like, to the world through KTC then was a modem to connect buildings to be able to remotely change the settings of the energy system.
Wow.
And since then it has grown to today be roughly 100 people, mostly doing business in the Nordic countries, but also done like I think we did one of the first like district heating substations in China, in Beijing. So we've been around for 40 years. We've been doing mostly, until lately, it's been about automation, how to optimize the indoor climate. And but 5 years ago, when it's not been so much about the energy in itself, even though we've been working with all the HVAC system, the district heating system, all the stuff that is about making the energy costless, but especially focusing on bringing good indoor climate for the people being inside. But I would say between 10 and 5 years ago, this started to change. We started to go more towards working with energy optimization. Renewable energies came into our world. Solar panel, thermal heating, heat pumps, and all these kind of things. And we also started to see this this shift in the world where like you started to be able to all these governmental
subsidies and grants.
Subsidies started coming into the into our customers' world. So that's when 5 years ago we put up a vision that says that we believe in a world where energy is free with zero environmental impact, and still offering the best living experience and working experience for people being in-house. So it's so what we do is that we have in our tribe with 100 people like spread out all over the Swedish country. We run projects, we work with energy optimizations. Our like brilliant technicians or impact warriors are out in the field, like really like doing the best we can to bring down the energy consumption. But we are also like the last couple of years, it's also been about bringing how much renewable energies can we bring in with the best ROI? How can we bring in like a really, what is the so the customers like get a really good payoff time of their investment and still going renewables. And where we are right now, it's we are in a situation where renewables are getting better and cheaper. And we are, so I would say 65 like customers that we have today, they have decreased the energy that they buy from the utility company between 60 and 70%. Which is quite a lot. Like I guess we're going to be like on 120% within 10 years, which means like they're going to produce more energy than they're going to supply back than they consume. And especially also now with I did an entrepreneurship when I was 24 with a company called Manodo. That was it's 14 years ago. We developed indoor smart home displays and IPTV services to have applications for tenants to see their energy consumption in real time. So you could press the button when someone took a shower, and then you compare the cost and the consumption and the climate impact with your neighbors, your siblings, your family, other family members. And so we see now like an awareness that is coming in. People start to care. Like 14 years ago, no one really cared because a shower is like, I don't know, once like 10 cent euro. So, or something, I don't know, I might be wrong there, but so it's I would say it's there is a lot of things going on right now. And with the shift, I think New York City says that by 2030 they're gonna decrease by 50%. And 2050 is like they're gonna have zero carbon footprint. And so but it's also quite interesting because when we looking at the other world in telecom that which I'm also involved with, when I speak to I spoke to the CEO at the utility company, and what he told me is like, if he doesn't achieve to put the buildings off, if we do not achieve to put the buildings off the grid, we will not have enough energy for 5G.
Really? Wow. Wow, that is such a powerful statement, especially with all the advancements that 5G.
Yeah, so the electricity cars, they will just be moving batteries, which for like peak loading. But 5G with these, like when we're going to go up for like 1 millisecond or below, like 60 is going to be so much energy in these beams that we're going to need for our future, like digital society or how we're going to evolve. So it's not only about a lot of people thought that the electricity cars will be the issue. It might be 5G that's going to be the issue for us not having like blackouts in all over the world. And of course, like
people are coming up with innovative technologies, trying to, and obviously the levelized cost of energy is going down, the LCOE. But yes, with the growing population needs, it's only going to get worse from here. So, Rickard, Yes.
Yeah, one last thing about it. I think it still comes back to what we said about COVID. It's not only about decreasing your carbon footprint or lowering your energy consumption. It's like the entire like ecosystem that you need to tie into and take the responsibility on a fully sustainable
Yes.
perspective. It's like a 360 issue that we're going to be put forward to if we do not take these responsibilities.
Correct. So so how do you look at climate change as Rickard, as yourself? How do you visualize it? I understand you mentioned the word ecosystem, as in it's not limited to just one or two players, but it's essentially about how everyone looks at climate change, and of course energy and 20 other things that relate to it. Should everyone in the ecosystem worry about it in the same fashion, or are there some key players who should take more action by taking a little more accountability for their actions?
I think it's a matter of like how fortunate you are to be, like if you are fortunate to live in a place where you have time, like everyone, like first everyone should care, like it's a matter of responsibility, and it's not only about climate change. It's about all the sustainability, like all the sustainability goals that comes out by the UN is something that people should take responsibility for. And but the impact, if climate change goes as it seems as it will, if we do not take these like responsibilities, we will end up in a world that will be much more complicated than COVID is.
Yes.
And we will like we will have a climate refugees in a way that we could never ever imagine. There are so many places in the world that we will not be able to live in.
Yes.
What people don't understand is like there are tiny shifts that will change so much over our entire global ecosystem,
Yes.
because the planet acts as a global ecosystem, and
Yes.
it doesn't really care where people live. And so I think it's of everyone should take the responsibility and care about climate change in whatever way they can. And one way could just be to have more of an, even though you do not buy like solar panels or you use less energy or whatever, there are other ways to take the responsibility, because the way of how climate is influenced by so many factors, like just doing things like taking a meeting from home, not buying a plastic bottle, eating more green food, and getting like everything. That there are so many things where you can contribute, or even just putting a smile on your face when you meet people, because that could influence them to want, like give them energy that gives them space to do something good.
Right.
So I think all these things that we see coming into our world these days, we should together. It's not only about the climate, it's also about all these other factors. And coming back to that, we are a tribe with 9 billion people. This tribe needs to come together, and I hope all of these threats or these like kind of bad things that can happen is going to bring us closer together. And we need to do that, otherwise we'll end up in a world where
so you're saying choice plays yes, so you're saying choice plays a big role in whatever actions occur in our lives. And I suppose we've all had we've all been through pivotal points in our lives, even on a daily basis. Do I do this, or do I do that? Should I take a left turn instead of going right? And again, we've been taught about doing the right things all the time. And I suppose a combination or the cumulative effect obviously has that role to play. So Rickard, I'm just curious to understand a little more about these pivotal moments in your life. as they call them, the fork in the road.
Yeah.
You've been an entrepreneur. You're born in an entrepreneurial family, and yet you've decided to, carve out your own entrepreneurial journey as a founder, CEO with Clayster. How did that happen?
I think it's first, like, do we make, for me it's more like, do we make these choices, or how do we end up in places where we are? So it's I would say it's how I ended up in Clayster. I guess it was like as I had my initiation when I was 24. I did an entrepreneurship in our family business, going into smart home and telecom. And I would say, like, for me, that was probably to initiate myself into adulthood, how to start doing my own stuff, because that I didn't have a university degree. I had the toolbox that I had was being in this family and try to find a way to maybe become an adult. And so I did that, and then that didn't fly. So then I moved to New York. That was a decision that I made. Like, I moved there to say, okay, I was like in my 29 and said, okay, maybe I should not be an entrepreneur. I didn't know that being an entrepreneur is not a free choice, that something comes deeper within yourself. But so I took that as I thought I'm going to shift that and started to study. But how I got in, and what then happened was that I was asked by the Swedish government to help them define what the transition will be from machine to machine to the Internet of Things.
Okay.
But I said, I'm not an entrepreneur, so I will not be involved in this. And one critical factor will be that the telecom operators or the operators will be involved in this. And I spent too much time working with them, almost killing myself. So but I helped them to design this, and that maybe comes in a bit to like what Clayster is about as well. But it's I would say for me, I took a decision to go back and work as an entrepreneur, and I think it was more of a calling, because Clayster is so much about integrity and privacy, and I think I deeply care about integrity and privacy from the perspective of free will, as I care about identity and digital identity. That's a huge topic now. It's going to be even a bigger topic for us in the future. That's why I like all this buzz about blockchain and stuff, even though we don't even know how that's going to fit in. But it's I think it's I make my decisions on a gut feeling, I guess, like, and then that gets more fluid into where I end up. I want to live in a flow. I want to be able. That's why I really care about biohacking and brain hacking and mind hacking, because I try to stay as clean as I can, to be as sensitive as I can to the guidance that my that something within myself is trying to tell me. So for me, I don't really make like left, right turns like in that way, in that fashion. I think maybe it was a big thing for me to say, okay, you should go back and be an entrepreneur, I guess. and
the rest, they say, is history. So you mentioned biohacking. What's that all about?
I guess it's about, like, how do you optimize the time that you are allowed to spend here on planet Earth? And how can you quantify yourself in a physical, a mental, emotional, and some people even want to go into like the spiritual realm. And for me, like, the spiritual place is just a way to open up your mind into something that you do not fully understand yet, and that is not empirically tested yet, or accepted, I would say. Biohacking is like, as I showed you before, like I right now I wear like a sensor on your arm that measures your blood sugar levels. And it's quite interesting. I use your smartphone to just like get out the information, and it tells you, like, for me it's interesting. It's not about, I'm not a diabetic, but I want to know, like, the food that I eat, how does it affect my glucose? and how does it affect my insulin levels. So it's
Okay.
so for me it's about like to know yourself better on a deeper level. As I would love to get information from Facebook and Google where they have like how much have they brain mapped my brain, so I can know more about my fears. I recently learned about, like, they say that, like, yeah, you can be as evolved as you think that you are, but go back, spend Christmas with your family, and you will realize that there are stuff inside yourself that you need to work on. So I guess biohacking is a way to to put like you're in, like, to do your work, like on all these like different dimensions, diets, whatever happens. Look at your body as like a chemistry lab, which is pretty much is.
So biohacking is all about the hardware then, right? The stuff that makes your body the body that is, what you eat, because that's essentially what your body is, right? You are what you eat. What about the mind then, Rickard? Because the mind is one, I would say, uncontrollable beast. A lot of us have tried and are still trying, should I say, to understand how it operates. But I suppose to understand the mind, you need to delve into the spiritual side of things. Something that you said is maybe not accepted in mainstream ways of looking at things. But have you explored the spiritual side of things as well, Rickard? Activating chakras, for example, or Reiki, or something of that nature.
Yeah, I guess, like, since I'm a curious soul, and it's I think, like, if you do not open up the hardware, so to say, your brain, because the one of the strongest fears that we have inside our head, that is in the unconscious brain, is that it's neuroplasticity, to change the patterns of your brain. That's why it's so hard to change patterns, like to change diets, to change way of walking, to change whatever it is. That's like that is what is working against ourselves all the time, is change.
Yes.
So I think for me, it's like it's been about, like, open up the brain to alternative insights or alternative information knowledge. So of course I've been exploring everything that a lot of things that I think, like, is that is, like, not normal in everyone's life, and I think it's even though when we met, like, when I was doing the Panchakarma, there were times there that was I would say out of this world experiences. Like, because since they work, like, we do 30 days heavy detox to clean out all our senses. But when the senses are, like, when you take the fog of the lens, you start to see things differently. And I think that could be kind of a spiritual moment. I had spiritual moments there that was, like, very, very interesting. Even spiritual moments then could be described as something that we cannot understand. But there are other things, and which I think, like, the gap between science and spirituality, which is kind of the two opposites to each other back in the days, are now starting to get closer together. Like, friends that I had is, like, the top people in astrophysics, even though live in the, like, idea of, like, that the universe is an simulation. And I think, even though if we go into deep quantum physics, we don't like, how do this material world that we experience come together, and how do we experience this? And I would guess, like, in the Veda books, we also, a lot of things that says there is now is more and more and more coming back into science as well. So I think it's I would say, like, in 20 years, we're probably going to see a lot of the things that was, like, more, like, I don't know, skeptical things, like 5, 10, or even today will be more accepted. And I think that is also something important as an entrepreneur, at least for me, is to always look within, that the tool for what you want to achieve is not always outside of yourself. Yeah, I have a lot of it's like, I guess I can go a bit into it, but like when I started, I have a lot of experiences like where like things like how the world comes together, like serendipities. And serendipity is a very, very interesting concept if you want to dig into it from a scientific perspective. And because like in the material world, it's like there is no matter. Everything is just energy. And energy that is then generated and comes together because of some principles in our existence or universe, whatever you want to call it. And I think that's where my journey began, like 15 years ago, when I started to like, okay, what is it actually that is creating the reality within that I'm running around within. And and that might make you spiritual, but it also makes you like scientific, or it makes you questioning. When I think questioning is like have a radical mind to dare to question the things that you do not understand and that people tell you is wrong. I think that gives you the freedom of living a life that you are in fully control, well, as much as you can, fully control of yourself.
Well, I suppose you're absolutely right. So things that we do not understand are often labeled as unpredictable and chaotic or the unknown, just because you've not managed to put some sort of a mathematical equation to explain the repeatability or the correlation between causation and effect. So yes, till such point we understand, or should I continue to understand the unknown. As an entrepreneur, yes, you have to go through that journey of self-discovery to find yourself at peace with articulating, should I say, what that gut feel is about. Because you've had several instances in your life where you went with your gut feel and managed to find what you're after, right? So I'm sure there is some sort of relationship there. And yes, and there's another thing which you're experimenting with these days, right? Psyche synthesis, if I'm not mistaken. What was that term you mentioned?
Synthesis. No, I don't even know. Synthesis. Yeah, it's another. I don't even know how to say it in English. It's funny. So it's one branch that goes out of Sigmund Freud. Okay. So there are two branches that goes from Sigmund Freud. One is Carl Jung, which is the more like I would say more famous guy. And then we have Roberto Assagioli, which is another guy that came out of Sigmund Freud. And I have a great interest in both of them, and it's because it's about realizing the self. Like Freud gave us was like a lot about how to understand and suppress these like this other side of ourselves, how to keep that away. And I don't believe so much about, because what happens when we push things away is that it builds up on another side and then it comes out. And instead I think it's more about how can you realize how can you realize the self, how can the self how can you bring the self into the world but under controlled forms and learn from it. Like how can you learn physically? Okay, I need to understand like what on a physical level makes me do what I do. What is it that what do I want to manifest? Because I think everyone has something that they want to bring into the world. They have some will. At least what I learned as an entrepreneur, never trust that someone wants to do something because they can. Everyone wants to do something because they will. The will is the number one thing, and that's what you need to debunk on a job interview. That people will say yes, I can do this, and they might be able to do it. But some people are more naive and they are more like they want to do the work. So they want to get the job, so they say they can, and then they do fake it till I make it, hopefully. Coming
Standard.
back to then realize the self, and I think that's what I truly believe in. It's like, on a physical level, what is going on in my body? Why do I do what I do? On a mental level, why do I do what I do? On an emotional level, what fears is holding me back from not doing what I'm supposed to do, or what fears are what it is pushing me in direction that is maybe even destroying your life. I have experiences like with fears that I never thought that I had, but then you come into situations that triggers things within your body, and the only way to get that out of your body is to also realize it, bring it up, then have an open mind and allow yourself to heal those things and then go forward. So psychology and all, like I would say, the science or the understandings, since some of those theories that comes of Carl Jung and that comes of Roberto Assagioli, also goes back to the Veda, and it goes back to the Buddhism, it goes back to like deeper knowledge that is not fully understood today.
Okay. And true words have never been said, as they say. Yes, you're absolutely right. Till such point we're able to measure what goes on in the mind. And Elon Musk's Neuralink is doing something similar, right? It sort of touches both areas which are close to you, IoT and the human brain. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's because that's biohacking. I would say it's and the challenge with these things is that that might be something within 100 years. But right now it's just replicate something that lives in the past within your brain. It measures your, like, I don't know, certain synapses that is communicating or whatever, and impulses within your brain, and is already in the past. And since we already live in the past, the average human being lives between 400 and 600 milliseconds in the past. That's how long it takes for our nervous system to transport the information into the machine that is then going to translate that into a picture that you're going to see in your head to experience the outside world. So I don't know. It might be good in like, you will not come back like with telepathy or something with this product. It might be good as they say it is, as a way for people that has a broken physical body, and they want the body to operate and work better. And it's like a pacemaker, but not for your heart. It's a pacemaker for your brain and your spine, to reconnect the broken
missing links
threads.
Should I say?
Missing links. I think that, but it's not something that will like do things that is like,
got it. But again, the applications are left
it's
to
cool
human.
that we do these kind of things. I don't think I will put one in. I have this one today, so maybe I will get one into my brain.
Exactly.
Well.
Maybe you already have one, Rickard, for all you know.
I don't know. Maybe I do. I live in a simulation, so it really doesn't matter. And because I think an interesting topic that we as humans should be very cautious about is that we are also part of the planetary kingdom. We are an animal as everyone else, even though we have invented clothes and we have invented a lot of very weird stuff that we think that we need to be able to live on the planet and be happy. But when we look at the rest of the planet, it's there is an evolutionary pattern. Things happens because of an evolution, a will that drives things towards, like, we don't have to do anything with the tree, it just grows. We don't have to do anything with the animal, as I said, we create reproductional organs or whatever to bring the species forward. So I think us as humans, we should also consider how can we not be sure that everything that we do is part of the evolution.
Yes.
And because there are tons of theories that says that there is no clue how we humans can operate, because we are living in it's just a chaos. And we think that we make our own decisions to do whatever we do, but we are operating within the chaos. And this chaos is then we are brought forward because of something. And we think that we achieve things, but we do not really achieve anything. We just talk and do. Well, and
so there are umpteen stories in various books, by the way, which talk about time dilation and the fact that the same instances have occurred hundreds of times in the past, and people are essentially reliving the same thing over and over again. And yeah, it's an interesting topic, I suppose, which warrants another podcast. And I think we'll have you back on, Rickard. I think this has been a great conversation. I'm just conscious of time as well, so we'll come to that part of the podcast, which is called the rapid fire round, where I present two options. So you are given two options where you actually can make a choice, Rickard. So you just let that brain decide very quickly in an instant what it wants. Okay, the first thing that comes to your mind. Yeah. All right. IoT or blockchain?
IoT.
Khichdi or Swedish meatballs?
Yeah. I would say from a vegetarian perspective, I would say the khichdi, but then I need to say, of course, Swedish meatballs. And I've been doing the pancha karma. It's sorry.
Beethoven or Metallica?
Tough one. Yeah, maybe today Metallica. Yeah.
Today. Swim or run?
Swim.
Meditation or sleep?
Meditation.
Book or podcast?
Book.
Book. Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. And one final question, Rickard. How important is sleep to entrepreneurs?
I think sleep. There is nothing more important than sleep. And I would say, like, even because I said meditation, because I am fortunate to be able to sleep. I just go to bed, sleep, wake up fully refreshed. But I also realized, like, sleep is not only important for entrepreneurs. It's important. It's like the most important thing to have for everyone, because that's when our brain fully recovers. And especially being an entrepreneur, thinking about 100,000 things during the days, there is not, you cannot emphasize enough about how important it is.
Okay, wonderful. Rickard, thank you ever so much for setting aside time for this podcast. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope our audience did too. And I hope we have another one where we discuss about the other aspects of entrepreneurship, focusing on mental health. Okay, all right. Well, folks, that's all for today then, in another episode of A Done Deal. Thank you for listening in, and please do subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and Spotify. Signing off then. Have a great day. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.